The narrative opens within the hallowed halls of a police university, where a young man named Do-jin is undergoing a rigorous interview to join the force. His demeanor is composed, yet his body tells a different story, marked by various scars that pique the interest of the interviewing panel. When questioned about these wounds, he deflects with a mention of a minor altercation with intoxicated individuals the prior evening, a story that barely masks a deeper history. Concurrently, in a separate world of performance and artifice, a young woman named Jae-yi auditions for a coveted role in a film. Her efforts, however, falter under the director's critical gaze. Pleading for another opportunity, she's granted a reprieve and given a new script. Yet upon encountering the word psychopath within its pages, a visceral fear grips her, paralyzing her ability to perform and foreshadowing a profound personal trauma. Back in the interview room, the atmosphere grows more intense as an officer probes Do-jin about any prior encounters with law enforcement. Do-jin confirms this with a heavy certainty, triggering a flood of memory. He is mentally transported back to a childhood confrontation within a police station, where a younger version of himself, battered and resolute, insisted to an officer that he knew the identity of a criminal despite not seeing his face. That criminal, he revealed with devastating simplicity, was his own father. In a twist of fate, that very same officer from his youth now sits across from him in the interview. Do-jin acknowledges their painful shared history, stating that the officer once recorded his testimony, a moment that irrevocably linked their lives. Meanwhile, Jae-yi's artistic hopes are dashed as the director informs her she has not been selected. Citing a past friendship with Jae-yi's mother, the director offers a consolation, a recommendation to colleagues working on a different production. Grateful yet dejected, Jae-yi accepts, clinging to a thread of hope in her career. As Do-jin exits his interview, his controlled composure shatters. A promotional image of Jae-yi on a digital display catches his eye, and the sight summons such powerful emotion that tears well up, unbidden, hinting at a connection far more significant than a mere childhood acquaintance. This connection is rooted 9 years in the past. A young Jae-yi traveling with her parents encounters a boy and his younger sister on the road. Her dog's barking frightens the little girl, prompting Jae-yi to apologize. In that brief, silent exchange, the eyes of young Do-jin and Jae-yi meet, creating an unspoken bond. This memory is juxtaposed with the harsh reality of Do-jin's home life. He visits his mother, who urges him to focus on his studies and return home, a home dominated by a sinister paternal figure. Do-jin's father, ostensibly a handyman, is revealed to possess a chilling duality. After fixing a pipe for a female client, he approaches her with a hammer, his gaze unnerving and predatory. As Jae-yi's family settles into their new home, unpacking boxes with the cheerful chaos of a fresh start, Do-jin's family sits down to dinner. A news report detailing the brutal murder of a woman flickers on the television. While others might react with horror, Do-jin's father merely smiles, a terrifying confirmation of his monstrous nature before continuing his meal. The following day, Jae-yi's nonconformist fashion choices on her first day at a new school lead to a confrontation with a teacher. Just as she is being reprimanded, Do-jin appears. Recognizing him from the previous day, she is surprised. In an act of impulsive solidarity, or perhaps prompted by that earlier connection, Do-jin intervenes on her behalf, only to share in her punishment, 10 laps around the school grounds. This shared exertion becomes a foundation. As Jae-yi tires, Do-jin offers to complete her laps, a gesture of quiet kindness. When she stumbles and pretends to faint in a playful ruse, it is Do-jin who lifts her and carries her to safety, an act that cements their fledgling bond. To their mutual surprise, they discover they are classmates. Jae-yi is elated, insisting on sitting with him and offering a treat in thanks. Do-jin, however, is withdrawn and avoids her gaze, leading her to a series of earnest questions. Is he angry? Does she talk too much? Does he not like her? With a playful boldness, she stands before him, theorizing that his avoidance must be due to a one-sided crush on her beauty. Do-jin merely looks at her, his silence an intense stare containing multitudes he cannot yet voice. The shadows of Do-jin's world soon encroach upon Jae-yi's. Her dog goes missing and she finds its name tag near a house across the street, Do-jin's house. Venturing inside and following the sound of barking, she descends into the basement. There she discovers her dog locked in a cage, and standing beside it holding a hammer is Do-jin. The scene is one of profound shock and misunderstanding. The tension escalates when Do-jin's father arrives, his presence immediately threatening. He challenges Jae-yi's intrusion until Do-jin steps forward, declaring her his first friend from school. In a tense act of defiance, Do-jin breaks the cage lock to free the dog. His father, masking his fury with a forced smile, chastises Jae-yi for trespassing but concocts a story about rescuing the dog from the rain. When Jae-yi questions the cage, he claims the dog bit him. Overwhelmed and frightened, Jae-yi apologizes. As Do-jin leads her away, his father's remark about his son's lovely girlfriend hangs in the air, laced with menace. Do-jin walks Jae-yi home in a heavy silence. He finally speaks, issuing a stark warning. She must never return to his house and must forget everything she saw, pretending they do not know each other. Jae-yi, however, meets his fear with astonishing courage. She agrees to avoid his home but refuses to forget him, confessing boldly, "I like you." She explains that he seems as strong and steadfast as a tree to her. Even if his feelings are not reciprocated, her own will remain. This confession leaves Do-jin stunned. At her home, Jae-yi's family shows him warmth and kindness. Her mother tends to a cut on his hand from the cage, and Jae-yi unabashedly repeats her confession of liking him in front of her smiling parents. This experience of normal, gentle familial love is a stark contrast to his own home. That contrast becomes a weapon upon his return. His father, noticing the borrowed clothes and the bandage, delivers a chilling lecture about the inherent difference between people like us and the saved dog. Do-jin's muttered retort, "We are both animals," elicits a smile of twisted pride from his father, who agrees that humans are merely dependent animals. He then delivers a severe threat, forbidding Do-jin from ever entering the basement again, and warning of dire consequences for disobedience. Alone in his room, Do-jin stares at a hammer on his desk, a symbol of his father's violent control. He recalls his father's philosophy, to eliminate anything that makes one weak or vulnerable. As he remembers the genuine kindness of Jae-yi's family, a profound fear grips him. He drops the hammer, terrified that his father will perceive this new connection as a dangerous vulnerability to be ruthlessly eradicated. Despite his fears, their connection persists at school. Do-jin finds himself drawn to Jae-yi, and when she falls asleep in class with sunlight on her face, he gently shields her eyes with his hand, a tender gesture revealing his deep affection. This past tenderness is brutally contrasted with a present-day lecture at the police university, where Do-jin, now a cadet, is forced to listen as an officer clinically details the series of murders committed by his incarcerated father. The narrative plunges back into the past's escalating crisis. Do-jin's mother, having discovered her husband's horrific secret, attempts to flee with her daughter. Do-jin discovers them and, understanding the mortal danger, helps them escape, urging them to disappear where his father can never find them. He promises his weeping sister that he will always protect her and thanks his mother, a poignant farewell charged with desperation. When his father discovers their flight, his rage promises retaliation. Amidst this domestic storm, Do-jin seeks solace under a tree at school. Jae-yi finds him and with intuitive empathy notes the turmoil beneath his calm exterior. As he looks at her, his expression shifts, filled with a painful, undeniable love. When she teasingly asks if he likes her, he answers with a heartbreaking honesty, "Yes, you are right." He confesses that if she is like a paradise to him, a place of peace and solace. Then he begins to cry, apologizing not for his feelings but for the terrible fact of them, for the danger and tragedy his love might inevitably bring into her life. In the present, remembering this poignant confession, tears again fill Do-jin's eyes as he reflects on their shattered history. The past and present continue to collide with devastating force. Jae-yi's parents are murdered, the victims of Do-jin's father. As a police car takes the orphan Jae-yi and her brother away, she sees Do-jin sitting alone on the curb. She stops the car, runs to him and collapses into his arms, sobbing, a moment of shared inconsolable grief that binds them even as it tears them apart. In the present, Jae-yi, now an actress, faces a different kind of assault. After a drama shoot, reporters ambush her, brandishing the newly published autobiography of the serial killer Yun Hui, Do-jin's father, and demanding her reaction as a victim's daughter. The trauma overwhelms her. She becomes flustered, stumbles, and is on the verge of collapsing under the glare of cameras. This very scenario echoes a moment from their youth, when reporters swarmed them outside a courtroom following his father's trial. Then, as now, Do-jin intervened. He drew the media's fire onto himself, answering their relentless questions to shield a terrified Jae-yi. In the present, history repeats itself in a more powerful form. As Jae-yi falters, Do-jin, now a police cadet, steps authoritatively into the fray. He commands the reporters to turn off their cameras and recorders. The moment Jae-yi recognizes him, the weight of past and present becomes too much and she faints. Do-jin immediately gathers her into his arms and carries her to safety in a medical room. After ensuring she is merely suffering from stress, he tenderly drapes his coat over her, a protective gesture that mirrors his childhood care and underscores his enduring commitment to her safety. This protective instinct is the culmination of the story's most harrowing flashback. The narrative reveals the night Jae-yi's parents were killed. Do-jin's father, having murdered them, turns his masked attention to Jae-yi. He toys with her terror, asking if she recognizes him. Through her tears, she denies it. He cynically debates letting her go before deciding he cannot. As he prepares to deliver the final blow, Do-jin arrives. In a breathtaking act of bravery, the young Do-jin places himself between his father and Jae-yi. He lies, claiming to have called the police and given them the access code, buying them 10 minutes. Embracing Jae-yi to shield her, he tells his father he can endure a beating for that long, daring him to try. As his father advances and a terrified Jae-yi pleads for him to run, Do-jin stands firm, his body a literal shield, embodying the vow he would make years later to always protect those he loves, even at the ultimate cost. This moment solidifies the tragic, profound, and unbreakable bond that defines their story, a bond forged in shared trauma, fierce protection, and a love that persists across years of silence and sorrow, now poised on the brink of a complex and painful reunion. Upon regaining consciousness in the hospital's medical room, Jae-yi's first disoriented thought is of the figure who carried her to safety. She inquires of her manager about Do-jin's whereabouts, but the manager seems unaware of the name. It is then that Jae-yi notices Do-jin's police university identification badge, left behind in the flurry of the moment, clutched in her hand. This tangible proof of his presence compels her to seek him out. Meanwhile, Do-jin has confronted the swarm of reporters, steering them away from the vulnerable actress. He firmly declines to discuss his father's inflammatory autobiography. The reporters, however, are dogged, shifting their focus to the palpable, cryptic connection between him and Jae-yi, alluding to their shared presence at a crime scene 9 years prior. Do-jin turns the question back on them, asking if they believe the narrative spun by a monster. The reporter argues that while not all may be true, some facts, like an abusive childhood, could be, suggesting society bears some responsibility for creating such fiends and that understanding, even pity, is necessary to break the cycle. This rationale ignites a quiet fury in Do-jin. He speaks from the marrow-deep pain of a lifetime spent under the label serial killer's son, a target of suspicion and scorn. He poses a harrowing rhetorical question: if he were to commit violence himself, would that same society offer him mercy? When the reporter recoils at the implication, Do-jin's composure cracks, his voice laced with the bitterness of lived experience. He declares that his father has already ruined enough lives with his useless thoughts and orders the media away. Determined to find him, Jae-yi goes to the police university cafeteria, having been told it is where he often spends his time. After a long and fruitless wait, her manager insists they must depart via rear exit to avoid the persistent press corps. As she is about to enter her car, the reporters descend once more. In a moment of cinematic intervention, Do-jin appears, positioning his own vehicle to block the path of the pursuing press cars. Through the windows, their eyes meet, hers filled with a torrent of emotion, his with a resolute protectiveness. The publication of the autobiography has ignited a firestorm of public anguish. Family members of the victims stage impassioned protests, demanding the book be pulled from shelves. A news report speculates that profits from the sales may funnel to the killer's family, leading to a wave of harassment directed at Do-jin's mother, whose contact information has been maliciously circulated. Watching this painful spectacle on the news, Do-jin is overwhelmed. He retreats to a washroom, seeking a moment of solitude. There, a haunting memory resurfaces with crystal clarity. The night her parents were taken, a rain-soaked and traumatized Jae-yi, being led away by her brother, broke free to run to him. She clung to him, her words etching themselves permanently onto his soul. "Don't die, you have to live. Whatever happens, stay alive. It wasn't your fault. Promise me you won't die," he had promised. In the present, staring at his own reflection in the mirror, the ghost of his father seems to materialize behind him. A surge of rage and denial erupts. He shatters the glass with his fist, the bloody knuckles and splintered shards a physical declaration against the fate written in his blood: "I am not like you." Jae-yi meanwhile faces her own trials. When her car breaks down, her brother arrives, his concern evident. He asks if she is okay and she offers a brittle assurance. In a quiet moment back at the university, Do-jin sits alone in the now empty cafeteria, his gaze fixed on a promotional poster featuring Jae-yi's image. His mind drifts back to the aftermath of the murders, his father's arrest, where the man boastfully credited his capture to being fooled by his own son. During the trial, it was Do-jin's testimony, delivered from the witness stand, that helped seal his father's fate. Confronting the public circus head-on, Do-jin agrees to a television interview. With steely determination, he denounces the autobiography as a pack of lies, a narcissistic ploy for attention from a man devoid of genuine emotion, a psychopath. He pleads with the public not to purchase the book, to starve the narrative of oxygen. This very public disavowal, however, has unintended consequences. In the prison visiting room, Do-jin's older brother, Hyun, seethes with betrayal as their father speaks of Do-jin's impending graduation. Hyun venomously disowns Do-jin, blaming him and his love for Jae-yi for the family's destruction and blaming Jae-yi's brother for his own incarceration. To his surprise, their father turns on Hyun, defending Do-jin and calling Hyun useless before storming out. The day of Do-jin's graduation is meant to be one of pride and new beginnings. Instead, it becomes a gauntlet of hatred. Incensed by his TV interview, which they misinterpret as an attempt to whitewash the crimes, families of the victims arrive to pelt him with eggs and shout accusations. As they manhandle him, Jae-yi watches from a distance, her heart breaking for the man bearing sins that are not his own. Salvation comes from an unexpected quarter. His mother and sister arrive. His mother steps forward, her voice shaking with maternal ferocity, defending her son's character and his lifelong struggle to be nothing like his father. Her words give the crowd pause. Do-jin, ever the protector, asks a friend to escort his family to safety. He then offers a sincere apology to the aggrieved families for the pain his father caused before walking away, the weight of the world on his shoulders. In this moment of profound isolation and sorrow, Jae-yi appears. Without a word, she closes the distance and wraps her arms around him. The dam holding back Do-jin's emotions breaks and he weeps openly into her shoulder. She whispers to him the advice he has never allowed himself to follow, to voice his pain instead of burying it alive. Their poignant reunion is brutally interrupted by the flash of a camera. Jae-yi's brother arrives, his protective fury immediate. He smashes the reporter's camera, pays for it with cold cash, and then turns his rage on Do-jin. He punches him, snarling that he doesn't care what kind of man Do-jin has become, demanding he stay away from his sister. In the aftermath, Do-jin's mother and sister decide to relocate for a fresh start. Before they go, his mother offers him the permission he desperately needs, to cry, to grieve, to be weak. She tells him she's proud of the man who stood firm. 3 years pass. Do-jin is now a dedicated detective, chasing a criminal through rain-slicked streets. He sustains a stomach injury but presses on, ultimately getting stabbed in the hand during the arrest. Jae-yi in a parallel world has ascended to stardom. During a televised interview, she is asked about first love and her ideal type. Her answer is wistful and specific. Someone whose sight brings tears to my eyes. Do-jin, watching at home, feels the words like a physical touch. His work plunges him back into danger. Investigating a serial murder with a partner, they are ambushed. His senior officer is stabbed and Do-jin engages the killer in a vicious fight. Though he manages to apprehend the criminal, his own injuries are severe. He drives himself to the hospital where he learns his partner is in surgery. Exhausted and bleeding, he collapses into a chair in the emergency waiting area. When he wakes, he finds himself on a gurney. As he sits up to leave, his breath catches. On the bed opposite lies Jae-yi asleep. He lies back down, content to simply watch over her until sleep reclaims him. A nurse later informs him his wounds have been stitched. Upon waking again, Jae-yi's bed is empty. For a moment, he wonders if her presence was a dream born of longing and loss, until he sees a news report on a hallway television stating she fainted at an awards ceremony and was hospitalized. A frantic search through the hospital ensues. He finds her just as she's being mobbed by reporters at the exit. He pushes through the crowd, taking her arm, his voice thick with concern. "Are you okay?" She nods, but tears spill down her cheeks. Seeing her cry brings tears to his own eyes, a silent, powerful fulfillment of her stated ideal. Noticing the blood on his clothes, she is alarmed, but the public spectacle forces her to mask her worry. When a reporter demands to know who he is, she quickly fabricates a story, identifying Do-jin as an overzealous fan. He plays along, apologizing for the intrusion. Later, his chief drives him home, urging him to rest now that a suspect is in custody. Do-jin, however, is not convinced. The evidence doesn't align. He asks for discretion and is granted leave. At home, his mother is distraught over his new injuries. When his deflections fail, he does not offer an explanation but instead asks for a simple, profound comfort. "Mom, can you hug me for a little while?" He confesses, "Today I met someone I shouldn't have met," and finally allows himself to be soothed in her embrace. Across the city, Jae-yi is grappling with a terror of her own. She returns her brother's hug, wanting to confide in him but fearing his protective anger. Alone in her room, she recalls the source of her fainting spell, a gift left in her dressing room. Inside the box was a hammer stained with what appeared to be dried blood. The memory triggers panic. Stepping onto her terrace in the rain, her thoughts spiral back to Do-jin. She remembers a pivotal moment from their youth. After testifying against his father, his mother came to the juvenile facility, begging him to come live with her and his sister. Do-jin had refused, believing himself destined to become a monster. Only when his mother hugged him, insisting she would protect him regardless, did he finally break down and accept her love. In the present, Do-jin is recuperating at his mother's hotel, enduring her scolding for working while injured. His chief visits, bearing grim news. He shows Do-jin a photograph of the blood-stained hammer sent to Jae-yi. The chief plans to assign the case to another officer, urging Do-jin to stay out of it. Do-jin refuses. He insists with a conviction that brooks no argument on handling the case himself. The next day at the police station, Jae-yi arrives to give her statement. Their interaction is professional yet charged with unspoken history. He assures her they will analyze the hammer for blood and fingerprints, though it will take time. He makes her a promise: "I will protect you." She, with a strength honed by years of survival, replies that she can protect herself but hopes he will take care too. Their conversation lingers on their hospital encounter, a moment of unplanned collision in their separate orbits. Do-jin's investigation quickly gains traction. CCTV from the awards ceremony reveals a delivery man. Tracking him down, Do-jin learns the sender had a smile just like yours and had been a fellow inmate. The man delivered a chilling message. He said he would destroy everyone around you. The address provided for the sender is a punch to the gut. It is the old house from their childhood, a place saturated with trauma. Meanwhile, a scheming reporter visits Do-jin's father in prison, taunting him with details of the renewed connection between Do-jin and Jae-yi and the threatening hammer, noting its significance in the autobiography. The killer's surprise confirms the weapon's symbolic power. Do-jin goes to Jae-yi's film set to warn her. He finds her in the midst of filming an emotionally charged confession scene which unsettles him deeply. In a private room, he reveals the sender's address, shocking her. He then shows her a photo of Hyun, his brother, recently released from prison. His warning is deadly serious: if you see him anywhere, run. To ensure her safety, he fastens a specialized tracking watch to her wrist, a device that can alert the police and allow him to monitor her location. The gesture is intimate, protective, and heavy with regret. He apologizes, and she, with heartbreaking gentleness, calls him a fool, reiterating that the past was never his fault. The threat becomes terrifyingly immediate. Hyun visits their mother and sister, his unexpected appearance causing alarm before he storms off. Soon after, Do-jin receives the forensics report. The blood on the hammer matches a murder victim. The grim realization hits: his brother has embraced their father's legacy. The trap is then sprung on Jae-yi. She receives a message, ostensibly from her director, summoning her to a discussion on an empty set. When she arrives, the lights cut out, doors lock, and she is plunged into darkness, her mind catapulted back to the night of her parents' murder. A light appears in a room opposite. Inside, she finds Hyun, a hammer in his hand, a reincarnation of her childhood nightmare. Paralyzing fear grips her. Simultaneously, Do-jin is at the station, viewing CCTV that shows Hyun at the studio. A gut feeling tells him Jae-yi is in danger. He checks her tracker. She is on the move, but her manager insists she is home. Knowing she is walking into a trap, Do-jin races to the location. Finding the studio door locked, he makes a desperate, decisive move, ramming it open with his car. He finds her in the lit room, trembling and terrified. "Don't be scared," he says, his voice a lifeline. "I'm here now." He holds her until her shaking subsides and she falls into an exhausted sleep. When her manager and the police arrive, they find her sleeping peacefully, her head resting against Do-jin, who stands guard. He takes her home. Once she is in her room, the manager thanks Do-jin and suggests he say goodbye. Do-jin enters to find Jae putting on a brave face, but he sees through the facade. He asks if she wants him to stay. She nods. He sits on the edge of her bed and eventually both succumb to sleep. Jae wakes first, her fingers gently tracing the lines of his face in the dim light, an action that rouses him. Quiet intimacy, she voices the core of their shared pain, asking if his guilt is what fuels his promise to protect her. He clarifies it is not the promise but the guilt itself, the overwhelming sorrow for what his family took from hers, that drives him. He offers himself as a tool for her solace, to be used and discarded at her will. She rejects this notion of transactional penance. "I was able to meet you because of what your brother did today," she whispers. "I am very happy to meet you." Her words, absolving and loving, overwhelm him with emotion. After she falls back asleep, Do-jin stands before the photographs of her late parents and offers a silent, fervent apology for the irreversible loss and the ongoing torment. Jae's brother returns home, sees Do-jin, and is initially furious. Finding his sister asleep, he confronts Do-jin, ordering him off the case. Do-jin refuses with quiet intensity. "I am the only person who can stop my brother." The conflict reaches its peak when Hyun calls Do-jin directly, his voice dripping with malice. He taunts Do-jin about the fun he's orchestrated and promises to systematically destroy everyone in his life, especially Jae-yi and her brother, vowing to cut them into pieces. Do-jin's response is a low, dangerous growl, a warning that if Hyun touches them, he will unleash a retribution beyond imagining. Hyun's laughter is the only reply before the line goes dead. The following morning, Jae stops her brother as he leaves for work. She acknowledges his anger at her secrecy. His anger melts into raw fear. "I'm not angry, I don't want to lose you, I'm scared, don't leave me alone." She assures him with all the conviction she possesses, reaffirming the unbreakable bond of family and a future faced together. Her words offer him a fragile but vital comfort in the gathering storm. The narrative unfolds on a rain-soaked evening, as Jae prepares to welcome a close friend, a celebrated actress, to her home. Venturing outside to wait, her gaze is drawn to a solitary figure standing motionless beneath the dripping branches of a nearby tree. It is Do-jin. For him, the sight of the tree and the falling rain triggers a cascade of poignant memory, the very place where younger Jae had once confessed her feelings for him under similar weeping skis. His quiet surveillance is interrupted when Jae approaches, her umbrella creating a small, intimate shelter over them both. Her questions are a mixture of concern and lingering affection. "What are you doing here? You're getting soaked. Did you come to see me?" He offers a terse reply, stating he will leave soon, but the moment is fractured by the arrival of her friend. With practiced ease, Jae introduces Do-jin as a detective on duty, a half-truth to mask their complicated history. Her friend, with cheerful obliviousness, insists he come inside where he can just as effectively provide protection from the warmth of the living room. Inside the sanctuary of her home, Jae hands him a towel, a simple gesture charged with unspoken care. After her friend departs, Do-jin steps outside briefly to store the umbrella. In that vulnerable moment, the shadows converge. His brother Hyun emerges from the gloom, attacking him with a fury born of years of twisted resentment. He snarls threats against Jae, vowing to destroy her before Do-jin's eyes and ruin his life as his own was ruined. When Do-jin demands to know why, Hyun unleashes a torrent of blame. He accuses Do-jin of destroying their family by aligning himself with Jae, claiming their father's arrest and the subsequent collapse of their home was all Do-jin doing to save a girl. "Dad was all I had," Hyun spits, justifying his allegiance to a murderer simply by the bond of blood. Do-jin's retort is filled with a weary anguish. That's why it's so hard to forgive him. He speaks of the innocent lives lost and apologizes for breaking the family, but counters that their father never offered them protection, a truth Hyun has always known but refused to accept. Their violent confrontation is interrupted by Jae's voice calling from inside, alarmed by the sounds of struggle. Do-jin shouts for her to stay back, but the chaos escalates. Blinded by rage, Hyun lunges toward the house with a knife, intent on fulfilling his threat. Do-jin intercepts him, and in the brutal, grappling fight that ensues, the knife finds its mark not in its intended target, but in Do-jin's body. Hyun freezes, the reality of his action dawning. The brother he hated was still his brother. Panicked and remorseful, he flees into the night. Jae finds Do-jin bleeding on the ground, her world narrowing to the desperate call for an ambulance. The subsequent hours are a blur of sterile hospital lights and agonizing waiting. Jae, drowning in guilt, sits vigil. She is called Do-jin's mother, who arrives with his sister, their faces etched with fear. Jae can only offer tearful apologies, feeling responsible for being a catalyst yet powerless to stop the violence. When Do-jin's mother gently cleans the blood from Jae's hands, apologizing for the nightmare her family has caused, Jae insists the fault lies nowhere with her. Do-jin survives the surgery. When he wakes, his first groggy question is about Jae's safety. Assured she is unharmed, he drifts back into painkiller-induced sleep just as her brother arrives to take her home, a silent, protective presence reasserting the boundary between their worlds. 12 years of silence pass between Do-jin's parents. His mother finally visits the prison, confronting the man who fathered her children with a mother's wrath. "What have you made your son into?" she demands, revealing Hyun's attack. Yun-ho, the serial killer, merely laughs, perversely proud that his son has shown a capacity for violence, and taunts her for only coming now. She throws his own tragic history in his face, accusing him of perpetuating the cycle of abuse his father began, and declares that Do-jin, who still suffers because of his crimes, is no longer his son, he raised himself. As she leaves, Yun-ho admits he misses Do-jin, a twisted sentiment she coldly dismisses. Back at the hospital, Do-jin's mother offers him the pure, unadulterated love he has always needed. "You are a gift to me," she says, a healing balm to his scarred soul. Meanwhile, the vindictive reporter Park shatters any remaining privacy, broadcasting to the nation the sensational story. The victim's daughter is secretly linked to the killer's younger son. The scandal erupts. During a walk in the hospital gardens, Do-jin is startled to find Jae has come to him, defying all reason and publicity. He worries for her reputation, but she is concerned only for him. In the relative privacy of his room, she makes him promise never to risk his life for her again. He agrees, but she knows he is lying. His instinct to protect her is as fundamental as breathing. In a moment of shared despair, she wonders aloud if their greatest mistake was simply loving each other, a sentiment that has brought a lifetime of hardship since they were 14. Do-jin confesses his deepest terror, that he is the reason she lost her first family, and fears he will cause her to lose everything she has built since. The plot thickens as Hyun, seeking validation, meets with a man named Seong, a former prison mate of their father. This man, it is revealed, was the actual figure who terrorized Jae on the film set, not Hyun. Seong cruelly relays their father's dismissal of Hyun as weak and unworthy, and then subtly threatens their mother and sister. Hyun leaves, his anger redirected. This new, more dangerous disciple of Yun-ho is now in play. Haunted by Jae's words, Do-jin makes an impulsive decision. Despite his injuries, he goes to her hotel. He asks if, just for one day, they can live as if they are ordinary people without the weight of their history. She calls him mad but agrees, and in that agreement they find a fleeting happiness. This happiness is short-lived. The exposed relationship destroys Jae's career. She is dropped from all her projects. Concurrently, Yun-ho's prison sentence ends, and reporter Park, in a final, fateful interview, provokes him by calling him a monster. Yun-ho attacks but is restrained, a public display of his enduring menace. A month later, both physically and emotionally healed, Do-jin and Jae-yi fulfill their promise of a normal day. He picks her up and in the car her unwavering gaze makes him flush. She teasingly asks if he's ever dated anyone else and from his flustered silence she gleefully deduces he has not. She declares she will look only at him all day, a reversal that soon has her blushing and looking away. They visit a forest she frequented when missing him, as the trees always reminded her of his steadfast nature. They walk along a beach and through a park, savoring simple joys. While getting ice cream, Do-jin receives a call informing him his father attempted to kill reporter Park, leading to a new investigation. Distracted, he loses sight of Jae-yi, who has been recognized by fans and hidden herself. His frantic, terrified search shows her the depth of his worry, and when he finds her, he pulls her into a crushing embrace. Their perfect day concludes with a hesitant, almost kiss that is interrupted by another call. The scandal has exploded at his workplace. His colleagues now know everything. Jae-yi sees the vicious news reports on her phone. In the car, she admits her own fear, mirroring his earlier confession, and urges them both to be careful. They part with a somber goodbye. But the separation is unbearable. Remembering her promise to be his shelter, Do-jin turns his car around and returns to her. On her doorstep he pours out his heart. He's broken inside. Seeing her hurts with the memory of all he cost her, but not seeing her drives him mad. He cannot stop himself from saying he still loves her. It is the raw, unfiltered truth she needed to hear. She kisses him, sealing their reunion with her own whispered confession. They spend the night talking, rebuilding their connection piece by piece. The following day, the professional fallout is severe. Reporters swarm Do-jin at work and Jae-yi is blacklisted from the industry. Do-jin learns his chief is investigating his father. In the interrogation room, Yun-ho psychologically torments Jae-yi's brother Myuan, hinting at a third great loss in his life, Jae-yi herself, and insinuating that Do-jin will inevitably follow in his footsteps. Myuan, enraged, has to be restrained. Do-jin arrives at the prosecutor's office and shares a tense, silent look with his father through the window of a transport bus, a look Yun-ho interprets as a connection. Tragedy then strikes. Reporter Park is found murdered, the weapon a hammer, in a deliberate imitation of Yun-ho's signature. Do-jin deduces a copycat killer. CCTV reveals two men. Unbeknownst to Do-jin, Hyun had been visiting the reporter. He hid when Seong arrived and witnessed the murder orchestrated by Yun-ho to silence the reporter. Seong knew Hyun was there but left him unharmed. Hyun discovered a hidden camera that captured the entire crime. Fearing for Jae-yi's safety, Do-jin stays close. He receives a lead on Seong, a man deeply influenced by his father in prison. Before leaving to investigate, he hugs Jae-yi tightly, a moment witnessed by her brother Myuan from his car, his expression conflicted. Do-jin tracks Seong to his brother's house. A violent confrontation ensues, during which Seong threatens a child, allowing Do-jin to see his ruthless nature before he escapes. Jae-yi, missing Do-jin, visits him at the station and they share a quiet moment of solidarity. He explains the copycat theory and they pledge complete honesty with each other. The next day, Seong arrogantly comes to the station with a lawyer, taunting Do-jin about his father. Do-jin provokes him by mentioning the attacked child, revealing Seong's own monstrousness separate from Yun-ho's influence. The danger spirals. Seong attacks Do-jin's sister So-jin on the street. Hyun, in a redemptive act, intervenes and fights Seong off, getting seriously injured in the process. Refusing medical help, he tells his sister to take care of their mother and to warn Do-jin to be careful. This act of protection marks a turning point for Hyun. He later seeks out Myuan and gives him the incriminating camera footage, stating that Do-jin is nothing like their father because he was willing to die for Jae-yi. Yun-ho then executes a daring escape from custody, aided by a nurse infatuated with his notoriety. His breakout sends the city into panic. Myuan gives Do-jin the footage, urging him to catch the real killer and asking his intentions regarding his father. Do-jin's resolve is clear. He will catch Yun-ho and protect Jae-yi. He moves into her home, a constant guard. Do-jin traces Seong's car to Jae-yi's neighborhood. As Jae-yi parks, Seong ambushes her. Do-jin arrives just in time to apprehend him. That night, Do-jin's mother and his kindly chief leave a care package of food outside. When Do-jin goes to retrieve it, he finds his chief murdered on the street, a brutal message from Yun-ho, who is jealous of the man's closeness to his family. The chief's death devastates Do-jin and his mother. Yun-ho then kidnaps his own ex-wife. Hyun again tries to be the hero, intervening to save their mother and getting injured once more. As the police close in, Yun-ho escapes. The threat reaches its zenith when he kidnaps Jae-yi from her parents' memorial site. He calls Do-jin, luring him to a remote dog farm. Myuan, working with a now cooperative Hyun, begins a desperate search of Yun-ho's known locations. At the farm, Yun-ho provokes Do-jin, falsely claiming to have killed Jae-yi, hoping to push his son into a murderous rage and finally make him a killer. Do-jin, however, sees through the ruse and maintains control. Meanwhile, Jae, held by Yunho's accomplice, uses her words to anger the woman, creating a distraction that allows her to turn the sedative injection on her captor. She calls the police with the location. As Do-jin and his father engage in a final, brutal fight, Myuan and the police converge on the scene. Just as Yunho turns his weapon on Jae, Do-jin finds a final reserve of strength to stop him. Yunho is finally, definitively subdued and arrested. In the aftermath, peace is hard won. Jae's brother Myuan, witnessing Do-jin's unwavering love and courage, finally accepts him. Months later, a new equilibrium is found. Jae's career rebounds with a leading role. Do-jin is promoted to senior inspector for his role in the case. All of Yunho's accomplices, including a now repentant Hyun, who serves his time with the promise of family awaiting him, face justice. Liberated from the shadow of the past, Do-jin and Jae begin to live the ordinary life they were long denied. They do all the simple, joyful things they never could, their love no longer a secret burden but an open, celebrated, and finally peaceful beginning.